So I just saw Alien Romulus, and I really think that you should too because this movie was so much fun. If you like horror movies, if you like the Alien franchise, if you like having a good time with a bunch of strangers in a dark movie theater, I stick by that statement. You're gonna have a good time with this movie. It was it blew my expectations. I not that I had super high expectations or particularly low expectations. I think they were somewhere in the average range. But this movie was it had the special sauce to make it like a very unique experience. It's fun, it's entertaining. The world building is done so organically that you never are felt like you're being bombarded with information that you probably won't recall. You're really much living in this world with these characters. So basic premise of this movie is a group of scavengers are going through this station trying to find tools necessary for them to make a journey away from the planet that they live that they're really trapped in by this company who won't let them leave essentially until they work enough for them until they meet their quotas. And so that premise I think is really interesting because while you never delve too deep into the company into all of this, there are other movies where they go a little deeper into that. But what's really interesting is that it brings in those themes of, you know, the troubles of living in a capitalistic society without being so in your face about it. And it also makes the movie a lot scarier because you understand why these characters are putting themselves in dangerous situations to escape their current, the way that their lives are currently heading. Like they want an escape. And so they would be in that position to put themselves in those dangerous situations. So that makes it a little bit more real, even though we are talking about aliens, it still feels kind of real. And the characters, two in particular, are, I think, probably some of the best characters I've seen in sci-fi. You have Rain, played by Kaylee Spiani, and you have Andy, played by David Johnson. Now, Kaylee Spiani, I've seen her before. She was in The Craft Legacy, which I personally thought that movie was really good. Nicholas Galitzine was also in that movie. Both of them stars, in my opinion. And also David Johnson. David Johnson, I had never seen him before, but his character of Andy, he plays a synthetic human. He was like that guy blew me away. He it really is his movie at the end of the day. Kaylee Spiani is like the female heroine, like the Ripley Sigourney Weaver type character, but I think they both make a really good duo. But I definitely do think that he was the biggest surprise for me because I was not familiar with his game. But I definitely am now, and like super excited to see whatever he does next. I'm hoping it's more Alien movies because I want more of them. They were just so good. The rest of the cast was also good. They all did their job fine. But this movie really focuses on those two characters. And I think that the journey that the movie takes you on is incredibly sick and dope and full of like fun scares. And it kind of feels a little bit like a video game as well as like a roller coaster ride because they have to get from like one location to a different location. And there's these obstacles in the way. But again, there's so much more to it with how they do that, and their action sequences are so inventive, and the situations that they're put in are so scary, and it's like you don't understand how they're gonna get through it, and so I think that adds to the suspense. My favorite part about this movie was the audience. Really, there was like the third act is like knuck and futz, like it's crazy. And there was a point where I turned around, I was on the edge of my seat, and I see that the entire row was leaned forward, like completely locked into the movie. And that was a really special moment. Just that's what you want in a movie. That's to get everyone in the theater to have a similar, so visceral reaction. That is what movies are for. And so I think that this does a really good job. A lot of people are asking, does this movie rely too heavily on callbacks to the original Alien movies? I don't think so. I think that those callbacks probably are fun. Personally, I have not seen the Alien movies in a while. It's been like at least like 4 to 5 years since I've seen them, and so I understood a couple of the references, but most of them really went over my head. But that didn't do anything clearly to distract from the awesomeness that is this movie. Fede Alvarez, he directed Evil Dead, Don't Breathe. Both of those movies are super gross and disgusting and scary and fun. And he brings that into this franchise, but also he ups his game so much. Visually, this movie is stunning. I believe it was supposed to go to Hulu originally, and I don't even understand in what world they would put this movie straight to streaming, because you have to see it on the biggest screen possible. This is like one of those big screen movies. Downside to this movie, one of the things that it took me a little bit to get into was the fact that the sound design, or I don't know if it was the sound mixing, it was very muddled. And I think they were trying to go with like mimicking something that would be in like the 1970s, like when the original movies came out. But I don't think it quite worked. It took me longer to kind of understand it. And at the beginning, I was like, man, I really wish I had subtitles, because I really could not understand what the characters were saying. Especially because there's this one character who has a really heavy like accent, and I was like, what are you saying? Luckily, I didn't have to worry about that for too long, because after a while, your brain sort of rearranges and you're able to understand and tune into the voices. And so, and again, there's so much awesomeness being thrown at you that you kind of forget about any of the little drawbacks. So that's just like one thing that I would say. But I'm really excited about where this film sets up the Alien franchise overall. I think it would have been really easy for them to. They set up a lot of things throughout the third act of the movie, and it would have been really easy to just cut to black, save that for the next film. But what I really appreciated is that they kind of went there with, like, they didn't just tease things; they actually saw them through, and the repercussions obviously will probably carry over to the rest of the franchise. But we were fed just when you thought the movie had ended. It continues and it rocks your world, and I cannot recommend this movie enough. I really had a great time with it. If you're looking for a movie to see, definitely recommend this one. I think it's probably one of the best ones out there right now. And I would know, I've seen all of them basically. Um, but yeah, Alien Romulus, have you seen it? Are you planning on seeing it? I would love to hear your thoughts. But I absolutely loved it.